Bismillah. We'll start with our lesson, Sarf Lil Mubtadieen, where we'll go through the 5th scale, the 5-letter scales, and the 6-letter scales. And inshallah, with that, we will have completed the past tense of this book. Inshallah. So we'll start with the 5-letter verbs. وزان الماضي الخماسي, the 5-letter verbs. He says هو الذي عدد حروفه 5. It is that which has 5 letters. Okay, so we mentioned for the 3-letter verbs, how many were there? There were 3. Those were فعل, فعل, and فعل. And then for the 4-letter verbs, there was how many? There were 3? 4. Who remembers them? Gone. فعل, فعل, أفعل, and last one? You said all 4. Okay. For the 5-letter verbs, we have 6. All of them containing 5 letters. We have infa'ala, we have ifta'ala, we have if'alla, tafa'ala, tafa'ala, tafa'lala. Those are the 6. Okay? So if you go through the translation for each one, we have inkasara here. Inkasara is to break. To break. Now if you go to the root verb, we have, where's the root? Kasara. Now kasara, you are doing the action of breaking. So if I say kasartu, I'm going to go through it soon in the other slides as well. If I say kasartu al-qalama, I broke the pen. But if I say inkasara al-qalama, the pen broke. Is understood? Okay. Inqata'a is to cut. Inhadama, to collapse. Inharafa is to deviate. And inqasama is to divide. Have you all written that? Have I missed any? To collapse. Okay, so let's go through the others. We have the other scale, ifta'ala. Ifta'ala. You have ishtaghala, to work. To work, yeah. I'tasama, to hold on. Ikhtalafa is to differ. Ikhtalafa is to differ. If you need me to repeat any verb, please, you have to specify specifically which one I need to repeat. Inkasara is to break. Inqata'a, to cut. Intahama is to collapse. Inharafa means to deviate. Inqasama is to divide. Ishtaghala, to work. I'tasama, to hold on. Ikhtalafa, to differ. Then we have ibtada'a, is to innovate. Someone innovates. To innovate. And ishtahara is to become famous. To become famous. For the other scale, the third one, if'alla, this is for colors. So ibyadda is to turn white, iswadda is to turn black. So if you know the colors, this will be easy. Ibyadda to turn white, iswadda to turn black, extremely black, ihmarra to turn red, isfarra to turn yellow, ikhdarra to turn green. So again, ibyadda to turn white, iswadda to turn black, ihmarra to turn red, isfarra to turn yellow, ikhdarra to turn green. Then we'll move on to the scale. Tafa'ala. Tafa'ala, we have ta'allama is to learn. Ta'allama is to learn. Tafaqqaha is to understand. Tabassama is to smile. Tabassama is to smile. Taharraka is to move. And ta'ammala is to contemplate. So going through it again. Ta'allama is to learn. Tafaqqaha is to understand. Tabassama to smile. Taharraka to move. Ta'ammala to contemplate. Should we move on? Now we have the fifth scale. Tafa'ala. Tanasara is to help one another. So tanasara is to help one another. Tahasada is to envy one another. To envy one another. Tabaghada, to hate one another. Then we have tabadala, to exchange with one another. Ta'arafa is to know one another. So if everyone needs to know any scale or any word I need to repeat, let me know.
The first skill, I got that one to break.
Inqata, to cut. To cut. Inhadama, to collapse.
To collapse.
Yeah, collapse. Inharafa, to deviate. Inqasama, to divide. So last one, tafa'lala, tatalmada, to study under. Tadahraja is to roll. Yeah, to roll. Tazahalaqa is to slip or slide. Tadhabdhaba is to be hesitant. You hesitate. And takahraba is to get electrocuted. To get electrocuted. So these are a lot of verbs that we've taken. It's not a must to memorize all of them as long as you know how to conjugate and understand the concepts. And you can take that from you need in your everyday conversation. So تنبيه, he mentions خمسة من هذه الأوزان مزيد الثلاث بحرفين. That 5 of these 6 verbs are an increase from the 3 letters with 2 letters. والسادس مزيد الرباعي بحرف واحد. And the 6th one is an increase with 1 letter. Who knows which of the 5 are increased from the 3 letters and which one is an increase from the 1 letter? So we have 6 scales here. He said 5 of them are an increase from the 3 letters, the 3-letter roots, with 2 letters increased. And one of them is an increase from the 4-letter root with 1 letter increased. That's what he mentioned here in the first tanbih. So if you look at in fa'ala, we have the root fa'ala increased by 2 in. Then look at the other one, if ta'ala, we have fa'ala increased with a, and the last one, yes, the last one is the one, we'll go through all of it. If ta'ala is being increased by the alif and the ta. If alla, what's it been increased by? And the extra lam at the end. Tafa'ala, an extra ain and the ta. Tafa'ala, increased by the alif and the ta. Then we have the last one, which is a ruba'i, increased by a ta. Fa'lala. Do you remember fa'lala? Yes. In the second tanbih, he said, ثلاثة من هذه الأوزان مبدوءة بهمزة الوصل. 5 of these are ثلاثة من هذه الأوزان مبدوءة بهمزة الوصل. 3 of these begin with a همزة الوصل وثلاثة منها مبدوءة بالتاء. And then he mentioned the other 3 begin with a ta. 3 begin with a همزة الوصل, 3 begin with a ta. Why is it important to know? Because when something comes before the hamzatul wasl, you don't pronounce it. Some people, they think that it's a hamzatul qat', so then they pronounce it. They'll say one kasara wa in kasara, like that. Okay, we'll go to the next page. Now we'll do the first scale. We have in fa'ala. In fa'ala. So sometimes these scales, once it's increased, it might have a completely different meaning to its root. So now if you look at talaqa, to be freed, if we take it to the scale, in fa'ala, we get in talaqa, which means to proceed or depart. So now the meaning has completely changed. And other times, it becomes a intransitive verb. So here we have kasara, to break. Kasara is to break. On the scale in fa'ala, we have in kasara, to be broken. To be broken. So now I'll give an example here. Kasarta zujaja is meant to be kasartu here, but kasarta zujaja, the meaning is now, the translation is wrong here, but what's the real meaning? Kasarta. You broke. You broke the glass. If I say in kasara zujaju, what am I saying? The glass broke. The glass broke. Okay, going back. So what is the difference between a intransitive and transitive verb? With a transitive verb, you'll see that there is a do of the action and an object. For example, kasartu, I broke, az-zujaja, the thing that I broke. But if I say in kasara zujaju, the object now here is the one that the action, that's doing the action of breaking. In kasara az-zujaju. We have qata'a. You can also say that is to cut. Qata'a is to cut. If I say in qata'a, the thing is cut. Understood?
Can you repeat transitive and intransitive definition?
So the transitive is something, for example, you have the doer of the action, the thing that the action is landing upon. More examples will come. And then we have intransitive, the thing that the action is landing upon, if it comes on this scale, it's more than enough. So if I say inkasara zujaju, the thing that broke.
So there's no door.
The thing that's broke in the first example is the doer of the second example.
The thing that action is landing.
Yeah. I'll say kasara Muhammadun al-qalama. Muhammad and qalam. But here I can say inkasara al-qalam. That's enough. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the tasrif of the first verb in fa'ala. Okay? Whoever wants the translation of the verbs, I'll give it to you quickly. In sarafa is to depart. In ghalaqa is to close. In talaqa is to start. In fasala to separate. In qalaba is to turn. فهمتم؟ فهمتم. هل فهمتم؟ That's not good enough. نعم. فهمتوا؟ فهمنا. Okay, let's start the first one. Conjugate in groups.
In group.
Yeah, in groups. Just like last week, we're going to conjugate each one. So I'll give the translation for the second scale. Ifta'ala. Ifta'ala we have اغتسل is to wash or shower. اغتسل. Then you have اعتصم, to take cover. احتسب, to calculate. اختلف, to differ. امتحن is to examine. To wash or shower, to take cover, to calculate, to differ, and the last one is to examine. Okay, we'll continue to the next scale. We have the scale if'alla. If'alla. The scale is used for colors and defects. So all the scales, their use will come in a different book, what each scale is used for. This one, if'alla, is used for colors and defects. Colors and defects. So we have idhamma, to be black. Ihmarra, to be red. Red, to be red.
Red as in the color or red?
The color red, to be color red. There's an example there. Idhamma, to be black. Also, iswad. Ikhdarra, to become green. to become green.
It's more green, so I want to be red. Oh,
First one's to be black, second one's to be red, the third one's to be green. Is warra, now is one for defects, to be cross-eyed. And ismarra, to be brown. Then we have the example. The brother asked, how do you use the example? Here's an example in the book of Allah. فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ إِسْوَدَّتْ وُجُوهُهُمْ. As for those whose face becomes black. إِسْوَدَّتْ. What scale is that on? إِفْعَلْ. إِفْعَلَّتْ. تفضل. Let's try conjugate. One each. You do one and your partner does one. So these scales are used for colors, mainly for colors and defects. So the next scale we're going through is تفعل. تفعل. Here this scale, the action relates back to the doer. The action relates back to the doer. For example, علم, we've already taken علم on the scale. فعل is to teach. علم is to teach. You're doing the teaching. تعلم, you're now learning. So علم is to teach. تعلم is to learn. Generally the scale, this will go back to the one that's doing the action. We've added a ta. Nam. We've added an ayn as well. تفعل, تعلم is to learn. فرق is to separate. تفرق here is to become separated. فسح, to make space. تفسح, to become spacious. So here we have the scale that we took last week and the one that we're taking now in one hadith. The famous hadith of Uthman, where he says, خيركم, the best of you, من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. The best of you is the one, تعلم. What's he doing? تعلم, to learn. Then what does he do? علمه. That who is going back to the Quran. This who at the end. علمه. So he learns the Quran, تعلم, then وعلمه. Then he teaches it. Okay, so let's go and write the definition or the translation of the verbs here. We have tawakkala. You can guess tawakkala. To trust or have reliance. Takallama, to speak. Tafarraqa, to separate. So tawakkala, to trust. Takallama, to speak. Tafarraqa, to separate. Some of these are obvious. Tasaddaqa, to give charity, yes. What about tadabbara? You can guess what tadabbara means. Yes, to contemplate or reflect. And after this, we're going to take the sixth scale as well. So we have two more scales after this. So let's move on to the next scale. We have tafa'ala. Tafa'ala. Generally the words on this scale show an action being done with another person or group. You're doing this with another person or group. For example, haraba is to fight. Taharaba is to fight one another. And then I'll say awana, to help. Ta'awana, to help one another. So you see that the action is being done as a group. So now if we were to take the verbs that we have here, we have how many? Okay, so try conjugate 5 of these. Just give me a second. Conjugate the first 2. Take one each. We'll take the translation for these verbs. Tanaqasha means to conversate or discuss. Tasamaha, to tolerate. Tasharaka, to participate. To participate. Tadhakara, to consult. You consult someone. Tasabaqa, to compete. Okay, so let's conjugate the last one. Tafa'lala. Tafa'lala. Pardon? Tafa'lala. This is the ruba'i with the increase of the ta. You have tamadmada. What does that mean? Tamad. Yes, it is when you rinse your mouth. And tamadmada. Taqalqala, to be agitated. To, to rinse your mouth. To be agitated, second one. Tajawraba, to put on socks, to wear socks. No, the first one, tamadmada. Then you have to be agitated. Third one's to wear socks. Tasarwala, to wear trousers. Tasarbala, to wear a garment. So to rinse your mouth, to be agitated, to wear socks, to wear trousers, to wear a garment. Let's conjugate. To the next one, that we've completed the 5-letter scales. Now we'll go on to as-Sudasi, the 6 letters. As-Sudasi. So for the 6 letters, is obviously that which has 6 letters in the scale. How many does he give us? He gives us 6 here. However, he says that, at the bottom, he says that since we're beginners, we'll do the first one, istaf'ala, due to its frequent use, and just to make it easy on the student. So if we go to the next slide, we have the scale istaf'ala. So istaf'ala, the main characteristics of this form is that it's used to seek something. You're asking something or demanding something. Okay, so let's look at the root and then let's look at the scale. So we have ghafara. Ghafara means to pardon. Ghafara means to pardon. Istaghfara means to ask for pardoning. We've added ista at the beginning. Ista at the beginning. So ghafara is to pardon. Istaghfara is to seek that pardoning. Adhina is to permit. Ista'dhana is to seek permission. You're asking for permission. Nasara, to help. Istansara is to seek help. Now do you see the difference when it comes to this scale? You're seeking something. Adina is to permit something. But if you bring on this scale, you're seeking permission. So before, let's try conjugate. Let's quickly go through the translation. Istaftaha is to begin something. Ista'mala, to use something. Yeah, ista'mala is to use. Istasghara is to deem something to be small. Istanqada is to save something. Ista'nafa is to resume something. You resume. Something that you pause, you resume. We're going to go back to a scale that we did last week. That's how I was going to explain it. The scale fa'ala. So this scale here, fa'ala, it can be used for an action that is done on a large scale or repeatedly. Okay? So we have qatala. Qatala meaning to kill. If I say qatala al-mujarrimu rajulan, the criminal killed a man. If I now put on a scale fa'ala, qatala al-mujarrimu ahl al-qura, the criminal massacred the people of the village. So he massacred the people of the village. We've taken it from fa'ala to fa'ala. We have adda, is to count. Adda al-rajulu amalahu, the man counted his money. When the Quran comes, alladhi jama'a, what does jama'a mean? Together, الذي جمع ماله وعدده, the one who counts his wealth or who collects wealth and he continuously counts it. Let's go fa'ala, he counts it over and over again. That's one. Then we have another one, an intensive action that is done once but with great force. So we have kasartul koba. If I say kasartul koba, I broke the cup or glass. If it goes on the field, fa'ala kasartul koba, I smashed it. You smashed it. You done it with great force at once. Qada'tul habla, I cut the rope. If I put on other scale, qada'tul habla, I cut it to pieces. So you have it being done repeatedly, or you have it done once with great force. That's the last slide. So we'll take us a benefit here. The statement of Allah. نزل عليك الكتاب بالحق مصدقا لما بين يديه وأنزل التوراة والإنجيل. I'll give you a couple seconds to read the translation here and look at the difference between he sent down and he sent down. It comes twice, but it comes with two different verbs. What are the two verbs we used here? Okay. Is there a difference here in the translation?
No.
Look at the difference in the translation here. Here we have the tafsir of al-Baghawi. He says, إنما قال, he only said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وأنزل التوراة والإنجيل لأن التوراة والإنجيل أنزل جملة واحدة. That he said, he sent down the Torah and Injil because the Torah and Injil were revealed in a single revelation. In a single revelation. وقال في القرآن, and he said in the Quran, نزل لأنه نزل مفصلا والتنزيل للتكثير. That he said the Quran was, he used نزل because it implies repetition, because he sent it down in pieces and there were many revelations. You see now here, نزل, and you have أنزل. You don't see the difference in the translation. But when you learn the scales and what each scale applies, you understand the difference.